Mom won't let me leave the house. A horror story. And the prince rescued her just before she fell into the abyss, Kagura read softly. He carried her in his arms, took her to the castle, and they lived happily ever after. Little Yuriko smiled beneath the blanket. Her eyes sparkled. She loved happy endings. She hugged her stuffed animal, imagining the castle, the dress, the clear blue sky. Kagura closed the book without a word. The sharp snap of the spine broke the moment. The girl looked at her, waiting for her mother to say something more, to share in the joy of the ending. But Kagura wasn't smiling. "Don't believe it, sweetheart," she said quietly. "Stories always end well. But real life isn't like that." Riko blinked. Her smile slowly faded. "Out there are no princes. There are men. Bad men. Men who would hurt you without a second thought. The outside world is full of monsters. Monsters worse than the ones in fairy tales." Monsters. Does she mean the bad men? That's scary. The girl curled up under the blanket. Her stuffed animal no longer brought comfort. "That's why you must never leave the house. Never. No matter what happens. You're safe here." Yuriko didn't answer. She just nodded, eyes wide, unblinking. Kagura stood and walked to the door. "I'll be gone for a few hours," she said, kissing her daughter's forehead. "You know what you have to do, right?" "Yes, Mommy. Stay in my room like a good girl. Even if you don't come back. I must never open the door. Never go outside." "That's right, darling. You know it so well." Kagura stroked her cheek gently, trying to steady the tremble in her fingers. "You're a very brave girl." She leaned down and kissed her forehead again. "But don't worry. I always manage to come back. I love you." Kagura stepped out of the room and locked the door from the outside. In the hallway, once she could no longer keep up the act, she leaned against the wall. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and tried to hold back the tears, knowing that every time she left, it might be the last time she ever saw Yuriko again. Years had passed. Yuriko was now 12. Every morning, her mother locked her in the room before leaving. The ritual was always the same. 2 kisses on the forehead, a smile that tried to look calm, and the usual phrase. "Remember, sweetheart. If you see I don't come back, don't go outside. No matter what." Yuriko nodded as always. But she was no longer a little girl who obeyed without question. She waited until she heard her mother's footsteps going down the stairs. Then the sound of the closet opening, the creak of the leather case, the metallic click of the front door closing. Silence. Then she jumped up, rushed to the window facing the inner courtyard. The other one, the one facing the forest, her mother always kept locked, and slid down the drainpipe with agile movements she had perfected over the years. She dropped into the kitchen, grabbed some dried fruit and a cookie from a package that had expired long ago, not that she cared, and ventured into the enormous house, thousands of square meters wide, nibbling on her cookie. The hallways were long, with metal doors that didn't belong in a normal home. Some had codes her mother had never managed to crack or find in any manual. The floor was made of a gray material that looked like neither wood nor tile, something typically used in laboratories. Yuriko loved exploring the place while her mother was away. She always went to the library first. She loved to read. In that silent room there were all kinds of books. Novels, manga, study books on physics, chemistry, engineering, advanced biology. Also survival manuals, psychology, world atlases. That's how she figured out where she lived. According to one of the books, she was in Japan. Something her mother had never told her. She didn't even seem to care about explaining her daughter's origins or anything about the outside world. But it didn't matter. Yuriko learned on her own. That day, she was flipping through a psychology book. She stopped at a chapter on anxiety disorders. Extreme fear of the outside world. She turned the page. Parents who project their fears onto their children. She froze. What if Mom isn't protecting me from something real? What if she's just afraid? What if she's making it all up? She marked the page with a folded scrap of paper and closed the book slowly. Then she went to explore the gym. There were weights, punching bags, treadmills. Everything clean and tidy. Her mother trained there every day. Sometimes Yuriko could hear her from the bedroom, hitting the bag with force. Even though she had walked those hallways dozens of times, the facility was so vast that she always found something new. That afternoon, for example, she discovered a room with tall machines, full of cables and dark screens. In one corner, several monitors were covered in dust. What is this? She wondered. Yuriko had never entered that room before. Further on, she passed a door with broken glass. Inside were long tables, glass tubes, jars filled with dark liquids. Looks like a lab, like the ones in the books. But what's all this for? In another area she saw empty offices. Swivel chairs, filing cabinets, yellowed papers. Did more people live here before? Where are they now? At the end of the hall, a metal door had a faded label. Decontamination zone. Another read, restricted access. Mom never talks about this place. She calls it our house, our home, but in the stories and novels I read, a normal house doesn't look like this. Yuriko had calculated that her mother took at least half a day to return, sometimes even a full day. So she made it back in time, climbing up the drain pipe, slipping through the courtyard window, and settling into bed. An hour later the front door opened. Kagura climbed the stairs and entered the room, her face covered in sweat and a proud smile. Come down, sweetheart. I brought fresh meat today. You must be tired of canned food after so many days. Yuriko got up and followed her to the kitchen. On the table, her mother dropped a huge chunk of meat, fibrous and streaked with black veins. Tonight we'll have plenty of meat. Sound good? Yuriko smiled, happy. Yes, Mommy. She hated the smell of the meat her mother usually brought, but it made her mother so happy to bring it home and cook it, and that made Yuriko happy too. The next day, as always, Kagura locked Yuriko in her room before leaving the house. Yuriko waited until she heard her mother go down the stairs, open the usual closet, and close the front door. Then she slid down the courtyard drain pipe like so many times before. She grabbed a quick breakfast, skimmed through a thermal engineering book she didn't fully understand, then another on chemistry. She was focused when, in the distance, she heard a noise. She froze. Someone had come in. Did Mom come back early today? She thought, her heart racing. If she sees me outside my room, she'll be really mad. Yuriko knew that when Mom got angry, she didn't yell, but she became very intense. She spoke in that quiet voice that made Yuriko feel guilty, a voice that hurt more than shouting. And she'd keep reminding her for weeks. She ran as fast as she could, reached the kitchen that faced the courtyard and hid behind a low shelf. From there, she could see part of the hallway. She heard the closet door open. What does Mom keep in that closet? She crawled slowly, silently, until she peeked through the doorway. And then she saw her. Her mother stood with her back turned, wearing a military uniform covered by a black plastic coat soaked in blood. In one hand she held a katana, also stained. In the other, she dragged a large black bag that looked heavy. She dropped it with a dull thud. Yuriko covered her mouth with both hands to keep from screaming. Her mother pulled a cloth from the closet and wiped the blade of the katana. Then she pushed back the hood. She was wearing a gas mask, the kind that covers the nose and mouth, with a round filter on each side. What is she wearing on her face? Yuriko wondered, not understanding what she was seeing. Kagura carefully removed the mask and hung it inside the closet, next to the katana. She locked the door. Then she crouched down and, unaware that her daughter was watching, slid her hand under the cabinet to hide the keys there. That's where she hides the house keys. Yuriko, I'm home. I'm going to shower and then I'll come up to unlock your door, sweetheart. I have to get back to my room. Her mother walked down the hallway, taking off the coat and military gear to go take a quick shower. Yuriko was shaking. She climbed up the courtyard drain pipe as best she could. She was so nervous she slipped trying to get through the window and nearly fell backward into the courtyard. She crawled into bed, trembling, pulling the blanket up to her nose. What was that red stuff? Blood. And that black bag in her hand. What was inside? A person's body. She always says there are bad men outside. Did Mom kill a man? No, that can't be. Mom wouldn't do something like that. Or maybe she would. I don't know what to think. Yuriko heard her mother's footsteps coming up the stairs. The key turned in the lock. Kagura entered, as always, with a calm smile. You can come down now, sweetheart. Yuriko didn't move. She pulled the blanket over her head, trying to hide the fact that she was trembling. Are you feeling okay? Her mother asked, approaching. Yes, I'm just tired. I'll stay in bed a little longer. Kagura looked at her for a moment, then nodded. All right. Brought more meat. I'll make dinner. She closed the door gently. Yuriko was left alone, eyes wide open in the dark. Her heart was still pounding. Meat. Was that what she had in the bag? I guess the blood came from some animal she hunted. Yes, that must be it. I was worrying over nothing. Mom is good. Mom wouldn't hurt anyone. 6 years later, Yuriko woke up with a smile. She stretched beneath the sheets, feeling the soft warmth of the blanket and the white light streaming through the skylight. Today was a special day. Today she turned 18. She got up with energy, took off her pajamas, and headed straight to the bathroom. As the hot water poured over her shoulders, she closed her eyes and thought, today's the day. Today I'll ask Mom to let me go outside. I'm sure she'll say yes. I'm an adult now. While Yuriko was lost in thought, the hot water suddenly turned cold. So cold. Then the water stopped altogether, and the bathroom light went out. No, not now, not while I'm showering. Did the generator run out of fuel? But the light came back on, and so did the hot water. Good lucky me. There must still be a little fuel left. She finished her shower quickly, dried off with a clean towel, brushed her hair carefully, and picked out something nice to wear. She didn't have many options, but chose a white blouse with a round neckline and a blue skirt she had only worn once, on her last birthday. She wanted to look presentable. She walked over to the window facing the forest. As always, it was locked. She placed her hand on the glass and looked outside. What was that? She thought, as it seemed the sunlight flickered off for a moment and then back on. Probably just my imagination. Yuriko kept staring at the grass. The grass. I dream of stepping on it for the first time. But today will be the day. I'll ask Mom politely and kindly, and I'm sure she'll let me go outside. Beyond the grass, the trees swayed in the wind. Yuriko imagined walking among them, feeling the earth beneath her feet, the sun on her face. She dreamed of seeing a river, touching the icy water, climbing a mountain and looking down at the world. She dreamed of meeting other people, talking to them, asking a million questions. She dreamed of falling in love. I love romantic novels. I wonder what it feels like to be in love, she thought, smiling brightly. She went downstairs, still smiling. When she reached the kitchen, she saw her mother with her back turned, preparing breakfast. But Yuriko sensed something was wrong. Her mother was whispering strange things. I'll kill them. I'll kill them all. I won't leave a single one alive. I swear I'll avenge you, Haruto. Her voice was low, trembling. Yuriko froze. A knot formed in her stomach. She stepped forward slowly, carefully, and touched her mother's shoulder gently. Mom! Kagura spun around, startled, holding a knife. The blade passed just centimeters from Yuriko's eye. Ah! Her mother cried, dropping the knife to the floor. Don't sneak up on me like that, sweetheart. You scared me. She hugged her immediately, trembling and crying. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You scared me so much. Mom! Yuriko whispered, worried. Are you okay? Kagura started laughing. First softly, then louder. She hugged her daughter tighter. Can you imagine if I'd cut you by accident? She said between laughs, squeezing her daughter tightly. That would have been such a silly accident, right? Mom, you're hurting me, Yuriko said, her voice strained. I can't breathe. I love you so much, Yuriko, she said, hugging her even tighter. If anything bad ever happened to you, I swear I'd lose my mind. Mom, no. I can't breathe. Kagura stopped. She let go suddenly, as if waking from a trance. She stood silent for a few seconds, then bent down, picked up the knife, and stabbed it hard into the wooden countertop. "Forgive me," she said seriously. "Sometimes I don't know my own strength. Today is your birthday. Let's focus on that, okay, sweetheart?" She hugged her again, this time more gently. She stroked her face with a trembling hand. Too close, too insistent. "I don't know what I'd do if something happened to you. I can't even imagine losing you or seeing you hurt. That's why I tell you every day, Yuriko. Don't go outside. Okay, sweetheart?" "Yes, Mom," Yuriko replied, lowering her gaze. "She's really nervous today. Better not ask her to let me go outside," Yuriko thought sadly. The smile she'd had when she woke up was gone. Only silence remained. Kagura finished preparing breakfast. On the table, she placed a can of Gomoku Gohan, rice mixed with vegetables, mushrooms, and preserved chicken. It didn't look very fancy, but Yuriko recognized it from the recipe books. Simple, comforting Japanese food. "And now," her mother said, carefully opening the oven, "I have a surprise." She pulled out a round cake, uneven in shape, with a cracked surface and a slightly burnt layer of cream. She placed a single candle in the center. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. This is my gift. I've spent months searching for the ingredients out in the outside world so I could make it. I don't know how it turned out. It's my first time baking a cake, and most of the ingredients were expired years ago. If it makes you feel sick, I want you to stop eating it immediately, okay, darling?" Yuriko was speechless. She had never had a birthday cake before. "Sorry about that," Kagura added. "I could only find one candle." Kagura lit the candle with a lighter. At that moment, the ceiling light flickered. It went out, then came back on for a moment. "The generator needs fuel," Kagura murmured. "When will you teach me how to refuel the generator?" Riko asked. "I'm an adult now. I'm not a child. I get bored and want to do things. Why won't you let me see the generator? Or the grass and forest outside?" Kagura looked at her but didn't answer. They sat together and ate a bit of cake. Yuriko tasted it carefully. It was sweet, with a strange flavor, but she didn't mind. It was her first cake. And it had a candle. Kagura grew quiet, staring at the slice on her plate. "It's a shame your father isn't alive to see you grow up. Or to be here for your birthday." Yuriko lowered her gaze. "Tell me more about him. He was handsome and very smart, right?" Kagura smiled wistfully. "Yes, he was. How did you meet him? You've never told me." "I met him right here." "Here in the house?" "Not exactly. I worked in the offices. Your father was a lab technician. I met him in these facilities. But it's a long story." "The facilities? You mean the part of the house with labs, libraries, and other things?" Kagura fell silent for a few seconds. "That was a long time ago. Now it's just our home." She stroked Yuriko's cheek gently. "Enjoy your cake and your day. Is it good?" Yuriko smiled, happy. "It's the best thing I've ever eaten." Kagura stood up and headed toward the hallway. "I'm going to refuel the generator. Have to go out. I won't be long. You know the rules. Be good and don't turn around to see where the keys are." Yuriko watched her walk away. "I already know where they are. Under the locked cabinet." That same night, Yuriko pretended to be asleep. She waited until everything was silent. She was already dressed in comfortable clothes, a gray tracksuit that didn't make noise when she moved. She slung a backpack over her shoulders. She peeked through the half-open door of her mother's room. Kagura was sleeping deeply. Yuriko went down the stairs barefoot to avoid making noise, holding her shoes in one hand. She reached the kitchen, carefully opened the cupboard and placed a small bottle of water and a box of emergency biscuits into her backpack. She didn't know how long she'd be gone. She moved down the hallway, crouched in front of the metal cabinet, reached underneath and grabbed the keys, opened the cabinet. She stared at the katana, then at the gas mask. She hesitated. Maybe this is important. I'll take it just in case. She put the mask in her backpack, closed the cabinet, walked to the front door, inserted the key into the lock. This is the most important moment of my life. I'm finally going to find out what's outside. But Yuriko began to remember the words her mother had repeated to her countless times. She was trembling with fear. Out there are bad men who would hurt me without hesitation. Out there are monsters. What does she mean by monsters? She can't be serious. There can't be men that evil. She must be exaggerating to keep me from leaving. After a few moments of doubt, she opened the door and closed it quietly behind her. She stepped outside barefoot. Her feet touched the grass. She took a deep breath, crouched down and touched the grass with her hand. Feels strange. Not like I imagined. She put on her shoes, moved forward, entered the forest. She touched a plant with her hand. How strange is this plastic, she murmured. Then she approached a tree, knocked on it with her knuckles. This one too. Plastic. That's weird. Trees and plants aren't made of plastic. Or at least I don't think so. She kept walking. The forest was silent. Too silent. After a few minutes, she bumped into something. Ow, that hurt, she thought, rubbing her forehead. She touched the surface she had collided with. A wall. What's a wall doing in the middle of the forest? She looked at it closely. The wall is painted with trees. She looked up. The moon shining above her was actually a projection, cast from a projector hanging from a ceiling far higher than her house. What is all this? She followed the wall, reached a door camouflaged as part of the forest. She spotted it by the handle. She opened it. A hallway. She stepped inside. This hallway is really long. On either side, rooms with keypads. I'll try entering a random number. Access denied. Just like at home. More rooms I can't enter. She kept walking. What's that noise? And that smell? She approached. It was a room with the generator that powered the facility. The air smelled of gasoline. Dozens of fuel drums were stacked inside. She checked them. Most were empty. She left the room, continued down the hallway until she reached a pair of silver double doors. Just beside them a button. What's this button for? She pressed it. The doors opened with a soft sound. Is this an elevator? She murmured. Like in that novel. She stepped inside, stared at the panel of buttons. On one side, there was a black sign with white letters. Yuriko read it carefully. Level 0. Exit to the outside. Is that outside? The real world. She looked at the button for level 0. That must be it. That's where I want to go. She pressed it. The elevator began to rise. The elevator rose slowly. Yuriko watched the panel. The numbers changed one after another, never stopping, though they flickered now and then, as if the power wasn't reaching properly. The ceiling light flickered too, but Yuriko didn't seem to care. She was focused on reaching the outside world. Finally the elevator stopped. The doors opened with a dry sound. She stepped out. The floor was covered in dirt. Fine gray dust like ash. But she was still inside the facility. The walls were metallic, the ceiling high, with exposed pipes and cables. She walked for several minutes. The air was thick, heavy. In the distance, she saw a large round gate, half rusted. It was massive. She stopped in front of it. That door, it's huge. To her right, there was a panel with a red button covered by a hard plastic lid. She touched it carefully. The lid was dirty, but she managed to lift it. She placed her hand over the button, took a deep breath, looked at the circular gate ahead. The day has come. I'm going to see the world. I'll meet new people. And who knows? Maybe I'll fall in love just like in the stories in romantic novels. She smiled, pressed the button without hesitation. The sound of gears echoed around her. The gate began to rotate slowly. A narrow gap opened. Air from outside rushed in, filled with dirt, dust and ash. Yuriko raised her arm to shield her face. The air was violent, harsh, like the whole world was struggling to breathe. The gate finished opening. I can't breathe, she thought, coughing uncontrollably. I remember Mom wore that thing on her face. It must be to help breathe better. She pulled it from her backpack with trembling hands. Put it on clumsily, adjusting the straps as best she could. Finally she got it to fit. She breathed. I still can't breathe normally, but it's better than nothing. She couldn't see clearly either, through the thick fog of dust and ash. She tried to move forward. It was night. Yuriko noticed the sky was completely dark, covered in dense black clouds. Lightning streaked across the horizon, illuminating the landscape for brief moments. There were no stars, no moon. I dreamed of seeing the full moon, but I can't find it. The ground was rocky, sloped. In the distance, she saw dark shapes, like remnants of buried structures. Looks like I'm on a mountain. Well, at least I've fulfilled my dream of stepping on grass, even if it was plastic and I don't understand why. And now, the dream of climbing a mountain. The outside world isn't as beautiful as I imagined, but at least I can walk somewhere different than home. For a moment the wind stopped. The dust settled. Yuriko looked up. The sky remained covered. Lightning still flashed silently. There was no light, only shadows. She froze. Look back. The gate was still open. She could return. She could go back to her bed, to her mother, to safety. She looked ahead. The outside world isn't what I expected, but it doesn't matter. I want to explore it. Far below, at the foot of the mountain, she saw a forest. And beyond that, a city. Dark, silent, but real. I want to go there. She adjusted her backpack, took one step, then another, and began to descend the mountain. Yuriko descended the mountain with steady steps, though the terrain was uneven. The air was still thick with dust, but the mask protected her. When she reached the valley, she saw a winding path leading toward a silent city with crumbling buildings. She stopped. I don't know if it's a good idea to go in there alone. But I can't go back, not yet. She looked back toward the mountain, toward her home. I'll just take a quick look and return soon. She entered the city. The main avenues were covered in ash. Destroyed military vehicles blocked the way. Yuriko approached one of the tanks. Half of it was crushed. She kept walking. She peeked into the windows of shops and supermarkets. All empty. Broken shelves, dirty glass, open boxes. Nothing remained. She continued down the avenue. Saw an open door in an office building. She stopped. Should I go in? No, it wouldn't be smart to enter alone. Better another day. She looked toward the end of the street. I want to see the forest. A real forest. The wind blew hard. Ash and dust struck her body. It was difficult to move forward. The darkness lit up now and then with lightning streaking across the sky, as if the world were breathing between flashes. She reached the end of the avenue, entered the forest. It seemed like dawn was approaching, but the sky remained covered in black clouds. The light was dim, diffuse, as if the sun were trying to illuminate the landscape but couldn't quite manage it. Yuriko stopped. Is it already morning? How long have I been walking? Mom must be waking up soon. I should go back. But I'm curious to see the forest. She walked among the trees. After hours, the wind died down and the ash and dust began to settle on the ground. The haze is clearing. Maybe I can breathe without this thing on my face. She removed the mask. Breathing was still difficult, but at least she wasn't coughing. She moved forward. Among the bushes she saw fruit. Wild blueberries, covered in ash. She wiped them clean with her sleeve and tasted them. They're good. It's the first time I've eaten fresh fruit. She kept walking. The forest grew denser, but not threatening. She reached a lake. A lake. But it doesn't look as pretty as the pictures in the books. The water was still, dark, with a layer of ash floating on the surface. On one side, a deer was trying to drink, struggling not to swallow the ash. Yuriko approached slowly. The animal backed away, frightened. Easy. I won't hurt you. Her voice was sweet, almost childlike. The deer looked at her. It seemed to trust her, but didn't come closer. Yuriko remembered the fruit. Wait. I'll bring you something tasty. I'll be right back. She ran to the bush, picked a few blueberries, and returned to the lake. But the deer was gone. Where is it? It couldn't have gone far. She looked around. The forest was silent. On the surface of the lake, ripples slowly spread. Bubbles rose from the depths. Yuriko crouched down to get a closer look. The water was dark, but something large was moving at the bottom of the lake. What is that? End of free sample. The full story is available on Amazon by searching for Mom Won't Let Me Leave the House, a horror story, or by the author Adrian Alden. Thanks for listening. Remember to subscribe and like so YouTube can recommend more stories.